Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Wormhole and Kerbal Space Program. So, in the last episode, we took this stock part interplanetary craft all the way through the wormhole into the Kcalbeloh system and all the way to this gas giant Anehta system to this asteroid moon Enots. And so that was last episode, but now we're just getting ready to leave the Anehta system. I'm just setting up a maneuver to match inclination with Eiffel, which is the next moon out. It's kind of like Lathe, but it's got a pretty good mass that we're going to use to help slingshot us out of the system to use as little fuel as possible. So I'm just setting up that maneuver now. We're going to be trying to encounter Eiffel on the I guess the prograde side of where Anehta is moving, so that we can kick our apoapsis on the retrograde side of where Anehta is moving, because to lower our apoapsis around the star after Anehta, you have to exit Anehta's sphere of influence on the opposite side that it is traveling around the star. And that'll lower our orbit down a little bit lower to the next planet over, which is our destination for today's video, which is a desert moon, Ahtpan. Yeah, okay, so now I'm just starting to execute this burn. You can see Eiffel in the back there, kind of just above the rings. Hope that explanation made sense. But yeah, this is the Kcalbeloh Planet Pack, which is a mod for Kerbal Space Program that adds a bunch of new star systems that kind of, well, it's a local star system that, like a few different star systems that orbit a black hole, actually. And what I've been doing in my videos is mission to the destinations in this planet pack, trying to stretch the limits of stock parts. Yeah, okay, so we just got our intercept with Eiffel, and you can see it's kicked our orbit up quite a bit. It looks like we're going to have to do 2 passes to fully escape the system. But here I am in the sphere of influence. We're just going to execute that gravity assist. Alright, now I have to set up just one more. Alright, looks like it's enough to slingshot me out of the system entirely in the right direction too, which is great. It helped us save a lot of fuel on exiting the Anehta system, or escaping it. And you can see how exiting in the opposite direction that Anehta is orbiting, it lowers our periapsis on the other side of the star. Well, I should say stars, actually, because this system is a binary star system. But it's the same principle. So I just set up Anehta as my target. I'm setting up an inclination change so that I can match up with the planet in a few years on the other side of this orbit here. There's that binary star system that you can see. Just a small inclination burn. Alright, looks like we've matched inclinations. I just have to lower my periapsis down until we get those close, like the flyby encounter nodes, of those little light blue things. Till we get that. That means that we're intercepting the orbit at some point. And now I'm just looking ahead for like the next few orbits to see if I get a natural flyby. But it's not. It looks like I actually am getting an encounter with Anehta again. So what I'm going to actually have to do is probably do a retrograde burn at my periapsis to lower my orbit so that it doesn't intercept Anehta on any next orbits. And then I'll be able to set up some sort of maneuver to get an Ahtpan assist. Not assist, an Ahtpan capture, I mean. Okay. Oh, there's looks like we got a encounter already, just from a really small burn. Right now I'm just tracking an asteroid that orbits close to Ahtpan in case I need it later to refuel. I still have a little refueling module on the top of my craft. Looks like I got that encounter there. But like I was saying, I have this little mining rig that you can use to like dock to asteroids and refuel just a little bit. But I'm not going to need it this episode. Right now I'm just tweaking my flyby of the Ahtpan system, and we're going to perform a capture burn when we have arrived. Just a small burn there. And there's our first look at the desert planet Ahtpan. There's something really cool about this planet that I'm really excited to explore, but I'll leave that for the reveal later on. Alright, looks like we've arrived in the Anehta system. Still a little ways out. Can't see it quite yet. Oh, there it is. Pretty cool. It's got like a yellow atmosphere. More yellow than Duna, that is. And there's that binary star system. That's a cool view, for sure. Now I'm just getting ready to execute this retrograde burn to capture around the planet, slow ourselves down, and fall into an elliptical orbit around the planet, where I'll have to do another burn to circularize. But it looks like we've captured, so that's good. Alright, so here's our first close-up view of the planet. You can see some liquid oceans there that we'll be exploring later. Some craters. It's got a pretty thin atmosphere, kind of probably similar to Duna. I think it might be a similar size as well, but I'm just doing a quick spacewalk to maybe grab a thumbnail and just check out the views from up here. Yeah, it's a really cool looking planet. I dig the yellow atmosphere. That's really cool. Alright, now I'm just going to warp ahead to my periapsis again. Actually, wait. I think yeah, so I'm going to try to set up that circularizing burn so that we can fully slow down into a circular orbit around the planet. It's got some blue auroras near the poles. That might be a cool spot to explore on a later date. Looks like I'm going to do another little spacewalk here to check out one of those oceans we're flying over right now. The cool reveal I was talking about earlier does have to do with the oceans today, and if you saw my thumbnail, you might have an idea of what they're made of, but it's pretty cool. They're made of kind of like a liquid kerosene or like petroleum or something like that. At least that's what you can gather from some of the science blurbs that you can get when performing experiments in Kerbal Space Program. But we'll be getting to explore these oil oceans close up when we land. Looks like I just completed my circularizing. There's a really cool like double tier impact crater that we're flying over fairly soon, if you can see it there. I think I'm going to try to land there because that looks like a cool spot, really cool landmark. You see that right there? That's what I'm talking about, that double tier impact crater. That would be cool. Looks like one more spacewalk just to grab a thumbnail and check it out. Alright, so I just undocked my lander for this planet. It's kind of designed for atmospheric flight just a little bit. I got some wings on the side to make it more like a dart, to keep it like stable in the atmosphere. I want it to be able to steer almost a little bit so I can tweak my like landing zone. So the wings will help me do that. I've also got an arrow spike on the back of it, which helps maintain efficiency in atmosphere engine-wise. But yeah, it's a 2-stage lander, pretty good. I'll be able to use some parachutes to slow me down. But I'm also kind of just using those wings to like steer myself. If you watch my nav ball there, you can kind of use your wings to steer and kind of affect your landing spot just a little bit. I'm trying to aim for like one of the ridges on this double tier impact crater. Looks like I just deployed my first set of drogue chutes. Those will help slow us down in the upper atmosphere. And here's our views of the double impact crater. There go my main chutes deployed. Looks like there's a dust storm going on below us that the scatterer is rendering. So looks like we're unfortunately going to be landing in a dust storm. Let's see if we can do it. All right, we have landed. Just editing my landing gear there to more stabilize the craft. And it looks like the dust storm has passed, so I'm deploying my ladders, about to step foot on the surface. Oh, I forgot to turn the lights off, and I don't want this thing to run out of battery, so I'm going to go back and turn the lights off real quick, but continue with the historic first steps on Ahtpan. Collect some science and plant a flag. You know the works. But check it out. It's a binary star system, kind of like Tatooine in Star Wars. Like, you can see the double suns in the sky. Just like warping ahead so you can get a view of that. But yeah, it's just like Tatooine from Star Wars, like where Luke Skywalker's from, you know what I'm saying? Alright, well, I'm going to have to end up walking over to the oceans, looks like. So here's a extremely sped up time lapse of a very long hike on the surface of another planet. Just trying to walk over to the coast of one of these ridges so that I can get a look at the liquid oil, kerosene, petroleum, or something oceans that this planet has. And I don't know if any of you guys saw my video where I kind of like explored what the names of these planets mean. So a lot of these planets named in the planet pack are actually something interesting if you spell them backwards. So Ahtpan spelled backwards is naphtha, which is like an ancient Greek word for like some sort of crude oil, which is probably a reference to the oil oceans that I'm standing in front of right now. They're pretty cool. They've got like a black texturing to them, and although they might not seem as thick as oil, they do kind of act differently than regular bodies of water in Kerbal space program. As you'll sink, you might notice that my Kerbal, as I'm swimming around in the oil, that is weirdly transparent, but he's sinking. I actually, on a test landing, I tried to soft land a space plane into one of the oceans, and then my plane sunk, which is like sunk below the surface, like down into the depths of the oil oceans, but that won't happen on water. So I'm interested in like how maybe the mod creator tweaked like the parameters of like the water in Kerbal space program to make it so that you're more likely to sink in it. That's kind of interesting to me. I've been watching some videos on how these mod creators make these planets. But here we have another sunset on the coast of Ahtpan. Really cool views. And there in the distance is the black hole Kcalbeloh, that all of the star systems in this planet pack orbit. But since it's getting dark, it's time to head back. I'll just warp ahead. Alright, so here we are back at the landing site, getting ready to take off and return all the way back to Kerbin. Just getting ready for takeoff, raise the ladders, set the mothership as my target, and lift off. Very cool. A very cool spot to visit in this planet pack for sure. When I first kind of took a look at this planet, I thought it was just going to be kind of more of like a Duna-like terrestrial planet, but the oil oceans are really an interesting feature you guys should check out for yourselves if you play this planet pack, which I highly recommend. It's like my favorite Kerbal Space Program planet pack mod of all time. Alright, so we're almost out of fuel in our first stage. We just decoupled, and now we have our final stage. I'm just trying to build up that lateral speed so that we can capture into a stable orbit around the planet. Not capture, just kick our orbit up into a stable height that doesn't crash back down to the surface. So we just have to do one more circularizing burn, and we should be in orbit. There we are. Looks like we're in orbit. We're not quite lined up with the mothership though, so when we hit our first ascending or descending node, I'll be doing one more inclination burn to match the plane of our orbit. And then I'll do a minor prograde burn just to make sure that I can have a close flyby in the next few orbits. Looks like our close encounter nodes are pretty close by, so that's going to be good. I'll just warp ahead, actually. It took a few days, looks like. But there, looks like I've got a pretty good close flyby. I'll just warp ahead. Alright, now I gotta burn off my relative speed, burn towards the target. Oh, it looks like I flew way past it. I gotta rinse and repeat standard docking operating procedure. And here we are, back at the mothership. I'm gonna have to do a quick spacewalk, as I actually mismatched the sizes of the docking ports on these two landers, interestingly enough. Wonder how that happened. But there I am, back in the mothership. I'm going to detach from the rig that I used to carry the two landers in this mission and the refueling rig for mining asteroids, because we're not going to need them. So I've just warped ahead till Ahtpan is at the retrograde side of where the star system is orbiting around the black hole Kcalbeloh, because we need to jump down to the next star system over where the wormhole is that connects back to the Kerbal system. And to do that, we need to escape the binary star system that we're in, called the Urlum binary star system. We need to escape in a direction opposite to the direction that the star system is orbiting. And that'll lower our periapsis on the other side of the black hole down to the Sunorc system, which is the star system that has the planet Sarah, which has a wormhole that orbits around it, that'll connect back to the Kerbal system, and we can get back home to Kerbin safe and sound. I'm just finishing that burn. That was quite a mouthful. So I hope that makes sense, but if you guys watch my videos or know anything about the Kcalbeloh system, it'll hopefully make sense. I'm just doing one more spacewalk to get a final look at the system. This has actually been This has been a very smooth mission. Not a lot went wrong, and it was really easy to land and take off of this place. A really cool spot to explore for sure. Definitely a cool spot to see a binary sunset, just like Star Wars. Kind of like Tatooine, actually. Kind of looks like it too. Alright, looks like we're escaping the Ahtpan sphere of influence and leaving the star system as well. There it is, goes into the distance in the background. And in my orbit around the black hole where the three different star systems orbit, it takes like decades to make a complete orbit, but we had to warp all the way around till we hit an ascending node or a descending node so that we can match our inclination to the Sunorc system, so that we can get a proper like flyby trajectory. Alright, looks like we've matched our inclination. Now I have to do one of those maneuvers to get an intercept, and looks like I did just by pulling on the retrograde node there. Looks like I'm looking for one that's a little bit more optimal. Doesn't take as much weighting. That looks pretty good to me. So I'll just warp ahead to that maneuver in like 30 years or something. That's kind of the problem with playing this mod on stock parts, is you have to wait so long to do the hyper efficient like Hoffman transfers. You know, basically where you're trying to spend the least amount of fuel possible. And there's our flyby, and we've got our flyby down to intersect the orbit of Sarah, which I've set as my target. And now I'm just setting up a capture maneuver so that I can capture around the star and get an intercept with Sarah at the same time. So I'm kind of getting like two birds with one stone. Yeah, that's how the saying goes. I just forgot how it went. But let me warp into the star system. Here's the Sunorc system. It's kind of a smaller I'm not going to say red dwarf, but it's like smaller than Kerbal, a little bit redder in color and temperature. If that makes sense. But I'm just about done with this retrograde burn, and we'll be captured around the planet and hopefully have that encounter still. Alright, looks like we got that encounter. Just have to adjust my flyby as per usual. So the wormhole is that like light gray orbit that's kind of on the outskirts of the system. Here, you can't see it when I'm zoomed out here, but you'll see it in a second. Alright, you can see it a little bit better now. It's like a faint gray. I'm just trying to line up my flyby so that I can intersect the wormhole's orbit. I've just set it as my target, so it's highlighted gold or yellow now. Now I'm just messing with the retrograde and radial nodes so that I can get an encounter at my flyby periapsis. Looks like we got it, and I'll warp ahead to that maneuver, and then we'll fine-tune it a little bit later, because you have to actually have like a very specific trajectory to enter the wormhole. You have to pass through it at below 30,000 meters, I'm pretty sure. But it's pretty sensitive, so I'm going to wait till I'm a little bit closer so that my burns aren't so difficult to fine-tune, if that makes sense. So I'm just trying to line it up so that I'm kind of still on an equatorial plane relative to the system. And I've sometimes found that going through the wormhole looks a lot cooler if you lower your periapsis down to the point where your actual like periapsis counter disappears, so you're going like the very center of the wormhole. And there it is, actually, you can see it. Just about to enter. And that little peach dot there in the distance is the Sarnus gas giant, which is added with the it's like the Saturn analog of the Kerbal system that the Outer Planets mod installs, which is just like a stock-alike expansion to the original system. If you don't have it installed, but you do have the Kcalbeloh Planet Pack installed, it'll just put the wormholes around Jool. No biggie, but I think it's a really cool planet pack, and you guys should also look into it. So I'm just adjusting my trajectory so that I'm not flung out as far as it randomly did exiting the wormhole. I usually kind of just follow the rules that I do, like the same process that I do, and you can usually manage it, but it's hard to know like where the wormhole is on the other side of the planet, and hard to predict your actual trajectory on the other side of the wormhole. So you always have to plan a little bit extra room for error to minimize that risk. But I'm just performing a retrograde burn to lower our periapsis all the way down to intersect the orbit of Kerbal, not Kerbal, Kerbin, the home planet of all the Kerbols, and set up an inclination matching burn. Let's do that real quick. Alright, looks like we've got our inclination matched. Now I'm just going to try to get that encounter at my periapsis. Looks like we got a pretty good like solar periapsis encounter there. And there's our encounter. We'll have to adjust this a little bit later on so we can get a better flyby, because we're kind of only passing on the outskirts of the planet's sphere of influence at this point. So here's my kind of just course correction maneuver. I'm going to be trying to enter the atmosphere at like, I usually try to enter the atmosphere pretty steep, which isn't like the most realistic, but the heat shields in this game are super powerful. So I try to do that just to make sure that I fully land on my first flyby instead of doing one of those things where you have to like pass through the atmosphere multiple times. You know how it is. But trying to make sure my periapsis is at 30,000 meters. And there's Kerbin. After all these decades in space and our visit to 2 different planets and a moon and 3 different star systems, actually, if you count the Sunorc system, the Urlum binary, and the Kerbal system, all in stock parts. Pretty crazy. We're about to enter the atmosphere here. There's that heat shield starting to turn the air into plasma from the compression. But our heat shield, like I said, held up beautifully even at such a high speed. Our chutes just deployed. And looks like that's going to be it for our mission today, guys. Thanks for all the support on my previous videos. They've been really doing very well, getting like 3K views. It's been awesome. But I got lots more videos coming up. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.